even the president admitting today it's impossible to know if BP's latest fix will work.
If it's successful, and there's no guarantees, it should greatly reduce or eliminate the flow of oil now streaming into the Gulf from the seafloor. And if it's not, there are other approaches that may be viable.
So what are those approaches, and why haven't we tried them already? Matt Simmons, oil industry expert, chairman emeritus of Simmons & Company International. Also with us, Nicholas Pazzi, chairman of WOW Energy Solutions. Nice to see you both. Matt, again, we spoke a couple of days ago, but the connection was terrible. Before we get into alternatives, your assessment of the probability of success with Top Kill, to the extent to which you're skeptical, why, and if you could just explain why you think it's possible this oil could flow not for months, but for years to come. Why are you so skeptical of efforts to fix it?
Well, first of all, I had the luxury this morning finally, because I now have the video streaming of the leak, and it's interesting when you look at the riser and you realize you're looking at a 21.5-inch circumference riser, and there looks like somewhere between a 6 and 7 inch rip on the top. So the stuff coming out, it looks like a lot, but I actually saw a white fish go through it and come out white. So I said, this isn't the same as this brown, gooey, orange stuff that they found in the plume 7 miles away. And I still believe that what happened is that the riser blew off the wellhead and is hooked onto the rig. So you've got a mile of oil inside that's pretty light concentrate. So that's what they're actually trying to get out. So it's not sure that luckily they placed the Top Kill correctly, but now they have to see if it'll take mud. It probably will take mud. But then they shouldn't delude themselves that they've stopped the spill. They should now go and say, let's figure out what that plume was all about, because if that's the hole, and the casing blew out, we have an enormous problem.
Yeah. So elaborate on that very quickly. You're saying, because everybody's seeing the video, but they obviously can't analyze it the same way that you can. You're saying that the video that we're all now looking at right now is not the only leak? Is that what you're saying?
That's a tiny leak, and what the scientists are saying, watching this stain spread, is now bigger, I gather, than Maryland and Delaware, and several hundred feet thick, and this gooey stuff. That's not coming out of there. They think that's flowing at 120,000 barrels a day. It would almost have to be that big to flow that wide.
Yeah. And where do you believe the second outlet is relative to what we're seeing on the video, Matt?
Well, what the research vessel found a week ago Sunday was this giant plume about 6 miles away, and then this huge layer of goo on the ocean floor. That's almost certain that, I mean, maybe it's a natural fracture. I think that's where the wellhead is.
Yeah. Nick, what are you thinking?
I think the same. As a matter of fact, I know it's more, of course, than the information we received earlier, and I appreciate his information. This is new to me as well, and of course he has better information than I do. I would have to say that I agree with that totally. The thing is also that because of the casing that was put in had no O-rings, you have multiple places for leaks to occur. So I would have to say that I hope this Top Kill works, but the probability of it working is probably very slim. Now, could it slow it down? Yes. Could it actually cause an explosion and blow the top off of this particular thing? Absolutely, and that would make it worse. And that would be my experience. I don't think that BP maybe is using the right procedure. We know that they laxed on the safety procedures. We also know that they didn't put some O-rings into the concrete casing, so they have to seal up the concrete casing, basically, which means that without an O-ring in it, you are pumping mud and concrete into the water. And so how is that going to seal itself up? Well, I don't know. I mean, you could down there put a blowout patch on it, I guess, to keep it in, but that's not been done. You also, I mean, if it was me, and again, this is just me, my experience is I would basically take that 4-inch line and put it down there under high pressure and balloon it with a liquid, not with any kind of gas or anything, is basically balloon it, stop it, and then pour the mud on top of it.
I want to switch, Nick, if I can, to containment for just a moment here, and that's not to diminish what you just said, Matt, and I think that analysis is incredibly important and insightful, and hopefully will be shared with as many people involved with what's going on there as possible if it hasn't been already. to containment we go, though, Nick. One of your ideas that you've talked about in the past is the use of a supertanker. There is belief that that is a viable option, at least to contain the spill on the top. We asked British Petroleum about that. They sent us the following picture. We'll tee it up for you. And they say the reason we can't send a supertanker in is because you see all those dangling lines and submersibles off of all those ships in the middle of the Gulf. No supertanker can navigate around that spill because it's quite simply too busy.
Right.
Is that valid?
It's valid to a point. You see, the key word here is tanker, not super. Tankers of any size, anything that stores anything can be used, of varying sizes. They could be maneuvered using tugs, the bigger ships if necessary, and used to unload whatever those guys are pumping up out of any depth, if you would, to store and separate as well. I mean, you can run it through a centrifuge and separate it and recover some of this energy. The other thing that's important is that the super tankers, as far as I'm concerned, should be at the center of the spill and then use ROVs, or what we call using smart pipe, which can be 48 inches in diameter up to 1,200 feet without flanges, or 14 inches down to 10,000 feet without flanges. So you have a choice, and that could be made on the deck of a tanker, put in the water. It's flexible. It could be maneuvered using ROVs, and you could suck up those plumes without any trouble whatsoever.
Can you think of a reason why they wouldn't already be doing something like that, Matt?
No, I cannot.
Matt, what about you, Matt?
I think they're so certain that they have the answer, and they're so certain that this riser is hooked onto the wellhead. What they should have done is made sure, followed the riser and see if it's not still on the rig floor. If it's on the rig floor, basically it's nowhere near the wellhead. They should have the day after the plumes were found sent something over to see what the hell it was.
And so you think the most important thing for everybody to understand right now, Matt, is the distinction between the location of what we're seeing on that YouTube video that everybody's watching and the reality of broken pipes and disassembled equipment across the bottom of the sea floor that may actually be responsible for the vast majority of the crude oil or other carbon release into the ocean. Is that correct?
It's certainly responsible for the big stain that's now bigger than Delaware and Maryland. That didn't come from that little dinky hole.
That's right.
So what they're doing is basically chasing a mouse, and behind them's a tiger.
Yeah.
All right, listen.
And Matt, just to turn around, and the diameter of the pipe is actually 22 inches. The inside diameter is actually 21 inches, so it's half-inch wall pipe. So basically you can calculate the flow through that pipe, and it's not... Is it the 5,000 that they're talking about? Probably that particular shot is. But to make the massive mess that's underneath there, and that BP has put actual dispersants on it to make it heavier so they could hide the enemy, if you would, it was not the answer. It may have been their solution, but it's definitely not what the industry would have done. And it just made it worse, as far as I'm concerned.
So
what I've suggested to several government people is that the Navy should be working on a program to basically create a device to insert a bomb way down the wellbore and try to blow it up.
Exactly. But, you're going to release everything then, aren't you?
No, if you put it right down by the well, I mean, that's how Red Adair used to.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's how they blow out wells. Red Adair used to do that. But, one of the things I tried a while back was kind of like putting a cork on something, and we drove a submersible right in the pipe. Of course, it blew it out, but that was something that we tried because we didn't have any other solutions. You know what I mean?
Welcome to the party, Matt. I want to wrap this up, but I think the most important thing.
You could actually take these super tankers and actually put huge gatherings and pump the heavy oil out.
Absolutely.
From the bottom of the Gulf.
Absolutely. I mean, the well is 18,360 some odd feet. You can pump the whole thing out to the surface using super tankers.
But we've screwed around for 37 days. We've wasted a lot of time.
A lot of devastation will occur for decades, unfortunately. And we're just trying to help the good people of the Gulf because I don't want to see the Gulf shut down. And I think we need to get the super tankers in there. This is a military operation as far as I'm concerned, with experts that have been there and done it, and they're not doing it, and I'm mad about it.
Yeah, I think everybody in this country is, and I think that the two of you having a conversation like the one that you just had with me and with each other in public is incredibly valuable at a point when there is not enough understanding or information, particularly the identification, Matt, of the second plume, if you will, as the real problem. The elephant behind the mouse is the perfect metaphor, and as awful as it is to talk about the elephant, the only thing worse than not talking about the elephant is, the only thing worse is not talking about the elephant. So thank you for being willing to do it. Nick, a pleasure. Matt, we'll talk to you sooner than later.